Hello, this is Voice Your Mind podcast from Listening. Welcome to our show where we talk about the unheard who have no one to share about their insecurities and past trauma, or even having difficulty opening up to people when feeling down. On this show, we will be discussing everything about mental health, depression, and suicide. We listening are just ordinary people who are or were in your similar state and are currently encouraging ourselves and learning to improve our state of mind. So here we are taking a step towards motivating you to get better with us every day of the week. So without any further delay, let's get started with the episode.
Hello and welcome to the show. And now today's guest is Cassandra Rosa, and she is an intuitive life coach, energy healer, podcast host, and an author. So she actually, our main discussion of today is all about her and her journey, and we will learn a lot of things about how to find clarity in uncertain times, and all. And I'm like looking forward to our today's conversation. And by saying that, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Okay, so basically I'm like I was almost sleeping just before we started,
hmm
so that's why my
It's okay. No
yeah
problem.
yeah, so that's why like the voice is very fuzzy right now, like the words are not clear.
No
Okay.
problem.
Okay, so we without anything like without dealing anything, so let's get started. Take it with the story. So how did everything got started for you? So tell me about the all the beginnings and your story.
The beginning of my story. So, from a young age, I knew I wanted to make a difference in the world, and I didn't know what that meant. So, I thought maybe I would be a teacher or a psychologist because I love giving advice to people. And come the time in high school when you have to decide what you're going to do after high school, I decided to go to school for psychology. And I felt the pressure to do that because here in Canada, there's a lot of pressure to do post secondary. And about halfway through my degree, they changed the qualifications to become a psychologist and added another 4 years. And something in my gut just told me it wasn't right for me. So, this whole path that I thought I was going to go on, it didn't unfold the way I wanted to. And I was really, really lost and confused and depressed of, you know, my path not working out the way that I wanted to. So it was a really, really dark time because all my friends were excelling in their university career. And I just didn't feel that same way. So that was really like one of the darkest points of my life. I ended up finishing my degree and I didn't know what I was going to do. And my family had an insurance business, and there was this big pressure for me to take it over. So I ended up going into corporate and having to do these cold calls, to find clients. And I was just daydreaming about traveling. I was daydreaming about, helping people in need and making an impact. And I feel like in that corporate world, I wasn't doing that. So it was a really, really difficult time for me, seeing everybody excel and me being in this point of my life where I was completely lost and was really uncertain of what was next.
Okay, got it. So everything started like tell me. Okay, so this is a question that will might confuse you. Okay, so where did uh, your enthusiasm uh, is
Okay.
came from? Enthusiasm, as in you mentioned that from a young age you wanted to help other people, right?
Yeah.
So where did this come from?
Yeah. So from when I was in elementary school, I ended up getting involved in the student council. And I was creating a bunch of different programs and events for helping the community. And it just felt really good to give back in a positive way. When I was in high school, I was on the music council and we fundraised and had a bunch of beautiful events and transformed the whole program. And it always felt good to step into that leadership role and give back to the community. And once I started to see the impact on people, it was really profound. But the biggest kind of turning point of that, where I kind of turned up the dial and all of that, was when I graduated from university. I went to Africa and I volunteered in Namibia at an after school program with kids. And I really stepped into a mentorship role. And to this day, almost 10 years later, I'm in contact with the girls and still mentoring them. So that's when I really fell deeper in love with mentorship and coaching.
That's actually interesting. Why the reason I asked that question in the first place is because uh, I have this confusion. Actually, let me give some context. So I had difficulties with my confidence
Yeah.
for longest period of time. However, suddenly, without I don't know how, but uh, I became very confident and
Yeah.
like very open about different topics, and I don't know where that came from. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even on this podcast, okay, so there are a lot of episodes that are not uploaded, and on one of them I mentioned uh, I'm very confident. However, I don't know where my confidence came from, because
Yeah.
I've gotten a clue. I don't have any specific event in my head that okay, try to, because of doing this, as you said that you help people in Africa, especially in Africa, you
Mm-hmm.
mentored them, and that resulted you motivated you to do the most in terms of, let's say, helping people. I don't have any story like that. That's pretty
Mm-hmm.
weird, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that sometimes it really is when you're on the right path, doing the right things that you're passionate about, that's when those things can be unlocked and even very unexpected times. Like, going to Africa was actually a last minute decision. Um, because I had lived in Europe, and the woman that set up my study exchange, she at the last minute when I returned said, "Hey, do you want to go to Africa?" And sometimes when you're making those unexpected decisions, that can be, the most profound experiences in your life. So maybe for you, you were just on the right path, right? You were on the right path, and that's when that natural confidence came to you.
Okay, yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Okay, so a lot of people are suffering, like, are have facing. Actually, I don't think facing would be a great word. However, a lot of people have a lack of confidence. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
what would be your prime advice in terms of the people, young people, maybe in their teens or like early millennial years, okay, to
Mm-hmm.
gain that confidence?
Yeah, so I think it really comes down to the thoughts and the beliefs that you have about yourself. So I would say even to start journaling about, like, when I don't feel confident, what are the little voices in my head saying? Because from the age of like 0 to 13, that's when your belief systems are really formed. So maybe you had some experiences in your life like bullying or a family dynamic that kind of implanted and created those beliefs in your subconscious mind, and you might not even be aware entirely of what those thoughts may be. So I think once you become aware of the thoughts, the beliefs, the patterns that are underneath it all, that's when you can shift into confidence. Like, for example, if you have lack of confidence about making money, right? And money mindset, maybe that came from something as simple as your parents saying money doesn't grow on trees, right? Like, it's a saying that a lot of people say. Or if you, when you were a kid In school, if you did something outside of the norm and people criticized you for that, that can affect your confidence. So I think it's really important to simply journal and ask yourself, when I'm feeling lack of confidence, what thoughts are coming up in my mind, so you can get to the root of it and clear it.
Okay. That's an amazing thing. Okay, you mentioned that people build that belief system in 0 to 13 years,
Mhm.
30 years old, till they're 10 years old. Okay, so if they already have a broken, broken would not be a the best word. I'm not sure how to define it, but uh, let's say they grew up in a situation where they have bad or like self belief, right?
Mhm.
Okay, in that cases, what can they do to fix this? So let's say they want
Mhm.
to become more confident in terms of, let's
Mhm.
say, money, as you mentioned
Yeah.
as an example. Okay, so how can they shift their beliefs in terms of money or finances?
So say you have, let's just continue with the money doesn't grow on trees example. We get to decide like the thoughts and beliefs that we have. So it's, you could simply ask yourself, is that the truth? Is that my truth? Do I want that to be my truth? And then you can kind of choose, okay, what is the truth that I choose to believe instead? So maybe it's, with every dollar I invest, 10 times more come into my bank account. I love this one. I use this one all the time as a belief that I reinforce. So it's really asking yourself, okay, these are the beliefs that I had. Maybe this is where it come from. Is this the truth I want to have in my belief system? And what do I want to have instead?
Okay. Okay, even before that, okay, how do you, the thing that you said was about, or even I asked was about how to fix this problem related to, let's say, one example, belief related to confidence in terms of money, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how can you identify the right statement? Because let's say one thing that you said, effect no, okay, so let's say the first example that you gave, money that does not grow on trees, and
Hmm.
after that, so let's say they have this thought in their head, and this is negatively affecting them. However, they cannot identify it. Okay, in that context, what should they do? So they know something is wrong, however, they are not able to identify it.
Okay.
So,
So you can ask yourself, like, for example, about money. What did my parents tell me about money? What did my teachers tell me about money? What did my friends tell me about money? Right? So you can start to uncover that and look from, because that's where we learn from, especially in that 0 to 13, is from other people reinforcing specific beliefs, right? Because when you're young, you're like a sponge and you're watered by your environment very heavily, right? So if you are having a block to money and you don't know where it came from, ask yourself, like, what did my parents tell me about money? What did my peers tell me? What did my teachers tell me? To start to kind of become aware of it.
okay, that's a great thing. So for anything, if you are facing, like, does this thing work for every other conference issues? Like asking uh, what parents, like close people,
Yeah.
say about this specific thing, right?
Yeah, because there's roots, right? So this is like another analogy that I can explain, right? So when you were born, you have an empty, those like filing cabinets where you put like the beige files in, those big file folders. So when you're in a young age, imagine it's empty. And then based on the experiences you have when you're young, you kind of are creating those beige file folders. So if someone, for example, if your parents, they only were happy when you got an A, but if you got a B or a C in school, they said, oh, you got to do better, or that wasn't good enough, right? You might create a folder in your mind that, oh, I'm not good enough. So the beige folder is created at a young age. And then as your life progresses, imagine you're putting the papers inside of it. So maybe at your job, your boss said, "Okay, you didn't hit your sales goal. Like, let's do better next time," right? You might again add up like the evidence into the file, for example. So that's essentially how our beliefs are created. So lack of confidence really comes from a belief system that's inherent in your subconscious mind. So once you become aware by asking yourself and journaling based on some of the questions that I provided for you, that will help you understand the origin of the beliefs that are underneath the surface that are affecting you today. So, for an example, let's go back to the money example because we talked about it. The money doesn't grow on trees thing. That was
Okay,
something that,
okay. So before, I think for the audience, the example of uh, education. Okay, so the example that I gave was about uh, if you get a, if you
yeah.
don't get A's, then you're not good enough. So that
Mm-hmm.
that example would be more relatable for
Okay,
the audience.
sure.
Okay, so let's go towards that.
Based on that one. Okay.
Okay.
So, for example, if you wanted to create a business in your current day, okay, and you were striving for excellence to try and get the A, right? Kind of like when you were a kid in school, and you felt like whatever reason you couldn't get a perfect launch of your business, right? That could come from the belief of I'm not good enough that was created in the file folder from when you were a kid. You see how it's kind of connected? It's like excellence and success is related when you were learning about it as a kid. That came from that instance. So I find with a lot of my coaching that when I help my clients, the things that are happening in the current day are created to the files from when they were young.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, once they identify this issue, so what are the
Mhm.
things that they should do? Okay, so they have this belief, and they know it after questioning. Okay,
Yeah.
so can you repeat? Okay, so you
Yeah.
already once said it. Okay,
The
can you?
steps. Yeah.
Yep. How can actually they work towards getting rid of those? And is it about getting rid of those, or is it about getting new ones?
Yes. So I always find it's important to address the root of the situation first before you create the new ones. Because let's imagine that you just start saying positive affirmations, but you don't deal with the root of the problem, right? It's like you're watering your grass, but there's a bunch of weeds there, right? That are growing. So what I always say is it's important to uncover what that situation is and ask, like, do I want this to be my truth that I carry with me today? So, do I want to believe that I need to get an A for it to be a good job? Do I want to believe that money grows on trees? Do I want to believe that I'm not good enough? Right? And seeing if that's really your truth or if that's something that you were just told that you've carried with you. So, with that being said, you can ask, is this my truth? And it's a yes or no. And it's like, okay, so if that's not my truth, what truth and belief do I want to choose instead? So, maybe going back to the school example, since you like that one, um, that all my efforts lead to success could be a different belief instead of needing to hit an A plus every time for it to be successful, right? And once you choose that belief, You can add that to a list of affirmations that you say every day. So it's kind of like watering that belief that you planted is by saying affirmations every day. So that would kind of be the process of identify the belief, make the choice if that's your truth, and then choose a belief and affirm it every day.
Okay, that's interesting. So how long does it take actually? Now, I know like this question may be a bit absurd because different types of issues might take different time
Mm-hmm.
periods. However, uh, so how much time does it take usually? So let's say someone is uh, 18 or 20, let's say, or let's say 19, okay, and
Mm-hmm.
they want to work on their self belief in terms of they grew up in a situation where their parents did not allow them, uh, like said that they are not good enough if they didn't get an A's in their exams,
Mm-hmm.
A's or A stars or the same thing. Okay, the highest mark. Okay, if they don't, now they want to work towards, let's say they're starting a business now. So what? How much time would they take to actually go about, like, first removing that self belief and again like
Mm-hmm.
getting the new ones, right?
I think the awareness piece can take the longest time. Sometimes for people that are brand new to kind of uncovering beliefs. So that might take a little bit of time, but to choose the belief system and the truth part is very simple process. So that shouldn't take much time. So I think it really depends on the level of awareness that the people have when kickstarting the exercise.
Okay, so usually how you do how what stages of awareness do you identify? Like what are the most common stages of awareness in terms of this self belief?
The stages of awareness.
Yep.
So it just depends on the exposure of uncovering beliefs, right? So say somebody is brand new and that's never done that before. Um, it might take them very like longer than it would take someone that has done it from time and time again, right? So yeah, I don't think that there's really stages per se. I think it just comes down to experience with it.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So is it, usually I think it's better to identify very early. Early as in like uh, as early as possible, as if you have self belief or not, because you are feeling it every day, like every single day as the day passes. Okay, so I'm gonna like jump back to your story a bit right now
Yeah.
as well. Okay, so we talked about like the starting of your story, and you had
Hmm.
to go into crawls. You had to go into family business and stuff, or corporate stuff. Okay, so what are the things that you did when you were in the family business, and afterwards, what are the things happening in your life that made
Yeah.
you realize that no, this is not the thing that I should be doing,
Yeah.
and then you left and we are doing right what you're doing right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in insurance for a while and I just would be in the office daydreaming about traveling, about mentoring people, like replicating my experience that I had from Africa. And during that time, I had crossed paths with a good friend of mine in a networking event. And we really got into talking about mentorship and coaching and giving back. And that's when I kind of fell into personal development because we were doing vision board workshops in schools and community centers. And I made the decision that the insurance wasn't the path for me. I wasn't excited. I wasn't all in. It didn't light me up and I didn't feel fulfilled. And stepping more into a facilitator and coach in the personal development world and life coaching field felt better to me. And it felt like a light bulb moment of, this is how I can make the difference in the world that I want to make. So that's kind of how the process was. I ended up working some sales jobs while I built my business. And yeah, that was just kind of the journey. It was a lot of um, crossing paths with the right people.
Okay. So how important is actually meeting? What is the importance of meeting right people in life? Because this is a question I don't. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what is the importance of meeting right people in life? Because uh, for everything, even for questioning your self belief, like let's say you have an issue, you have to learn identify that it is an issue, right? And this happens because of an event, external event that happens, or
Yeah.
let's say someone, you see someone, or like you can talk with someone who doesn't have this issue, or like out openly
Mhm.
talks about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the importance of meeting those people?
Well, I think what it comes down to is saying yes to opportunities that you can meet people outside of your circle, right? Like I said yes to going to a lot of networking events, and that's what I met her. Because I feel like everybody comes into your life for a reason. um you might learn a lesson from them. They might introduce you something that will get you along your path. So I think it's really important to say yes to the opportunities and connect with people outside of your normal circle, because they may help unlock something fabulous inside of you, just like a coach, just like a mentor, just like a new friend. So say yes to opportunities in those moments of transition and uncertainty so that you can unlock even more about yourself.
Okay, got it. So unleashing. Okay, so how do you define unleashing your potential, or like unleashing your fullest self?
Yeah. So I think when people go through moments of uncertainty, whether it's change of careers or trying to figure out who they are and what they want, there is a longing for more. There's a longing for fulfillment. There's a longing for happiness. There's a longing for increased personal development. And unleashing your potential is really stepping out of your comfort zone, right? Stepping outside of your comfort zone and really fully integrating who you are. So, unleashing your potential is stepping outside of playing safe and really playing big. So, for example, I wasn't living my potential when I was working in insurance and in the corporate world. And it wasn't until I stepped out of my comfort zone and created my business and fulfilled a higher purpose for myself that I was living the potential of who I was meant to be and what I was meant to do on the world.
Okay. Alright. Okay, so what was actually the feeling of like when you realized, like how was the day of realization for you?
Mhm. The realization of which, like my
uh
purpose or my path?
mm, Both.
Okay. Um, so I think it was, this is a really good question. Um, I think I realized my purpose during the first workshop that I did in a school with kids. I was doing vision board workshops, and I could see how there was this little boy, and he was really excited about us being there and was really enthusiastic the whole workshop. And I saw me helping this little guy to make a shift and realize that he had the power to live his dreams and that he could dream big. Something as simple as that, I think, was so profound, because that warm and fuzzy feeling felt so much better than making a cold call and selling insurance. It felt more in alignment with what I was meant to do. And I just felt like that was a big shift in my life to see that, okay, you are meant to impact people, and this is the difference that you want to make in the world.
Okay. Okay. So is it this is this is a confusing thing actually. Confusing thing. What you said, you understood your purpose while mentoring people, and you may, and even the smallest difference that makes, that you make uh, affects, like makes you feel better, right? Okay, so how do you identify the path, if it is right or not?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
let's say there are people who do a dozen of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so how can they say, hey, this is my unified path, or like this is my vision?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is my path and this is my vision. So I would say when you're doing something that doesn't light you up and you don't feel excited about, you're going to know. If you are hitting the snooze button in the morning because you don't want to go to work, if you're not excited to step foot on the job or in your business, that's not your path. And it's very clear when it's not your path. But when you're doing something that brings you so much joy and makes you feel like fulfilled, like it's like an inner knowing, it's a feeling. You'll know when you're on the right path. It'll feel good, as simple as that. It'll feel great to do that. Like I know that I'm living my purpose and on the correct path right now because I'm excited to call my clients, have calls with my clients. I'm excited to record this podcast with you. There's such a drastic difference of when you're on the right path and you're on the wrong path. So I think that being on the wrong path really teaches you what it feels like to be on the right one in a way. Sometimes when you're going through moments of being in a job you don't like or not being happy in a relationship or whatever that may be, that kind of helps to show you the contrast of when you're on the right path or you're not.
Okay. So the being in a wrong place teaches you that's a big foundational thing,
Hmm.
and teaches you if it's right.
Hmm.
Okay, like there are a lot of people who, like the major portion of the population are doing the exact thing, that they don't want to do the work that
Yeah.
they are doing right now.
Hmm.
Okay, especially and I think the younger generation is like opening up a lot more about it than the people who are already,
Yeah.
like are already working for years in and years out.
Yeah.
Okay, so uh, in terms of like coaching or like mentoring both of them, what
Hmm.
are the major differences have you seen, like for like both generations?
Generations of younger people and older people.
Yeah, like old as in a
um
lot old, but like on the
yeah.
younger old, you can see.
Yeah. So I find that it's so fabulous that this younger generation is thinking outside the box. I think, like, even our parents, they were taught you have to go to school and you need to have one career for the rest of your life and retire. And something so fabulous about millennials and Gen Z is that we're growing up in the time of the internet and social media. And there's people that are so successful that didn't go to university or college and that are making money doing what they love. So I think it's really important as a coach, for me especially, to just share and show people that I've been able to create this transformation in my life and you can too. So I find that it's almost easier to coach the younger generation because there's more possibility and curiosity from living on a path that they choose rather than society standards. I feel like the older people there's a lot more of that pressure to live that 9 to 5 retire mentality.
Okay, and the younger generation is actually getting affected because of it, but they're opening up about it a lot more.
Yeah. There's more of the dreamers. Like they're more dreamers at the younger age, I find. That's why I love working with millennials. So the people from about like their mid 20s to mid 30s, um, because I don't know, there's just so much enthusiasm and excitement to create a better life for themselves and their families.
Okay, so this is my cat. So
No
he
problem.
he hops in all the time. Uh,
No problem.
okay, that was a lot. That's a lot. As in, like we talk about a lot of things, and we don't have much time together. Like five more minutes or so. Okay, so before you leave, so what are the
Yeah.
top three advices you'd
Hmm.
give to millennials or Gen Zs?
Ooh, good question. I would say in my process of my coaching and stuff, I focus on the three C's of clarity. So to help you to live your path and purpose confidently and have a fulfilling life, it comes down to connecting to a vision that lights you up. So dreaming big, creating a vision board, and writing down, like, if I was the most confident version of myself, what would I want to achieve? So really journaling about that and seeing what would your dream house be? Would you want to travel? What's most important things that you want to achieve in your life? That's how you can connect to a vision of your path, purpose, and fulfillment. Next is really connecting with that inner confident self. And to connect with that inner confident self, it's kind of walking through the process we talked about today of clearing what's holding you back. Because if you show from a clear space with positive thoughts, beliefs, and energy, that's what's going to be the fire to help you achieve what you want. So, really applying that process we talked about today. And lastly, it's really just focusing on one baby step at a time. Sometimes we can get too caught up on making all these elaborate plans to achieve what we want. And I think it's just keep it really, really simple. So if you want to start a business, for example, maybe your first baby step is opening an Instagram page, right? So I would say in the process of creating a fulfillment light for millennials, it's really connecting to the vision of what you want, um, stepping into the most confident version of yourself, and taking simple action steps along the way, one at a time.
Okay, got it. Okay, so those are like three prime, like very straightforward advices. Okay,
Hmm.
so that's about it. However, so how does the process, like this question is just often, so how does the process of creating a vision board look like?
Yeah. So I think it comes down to the values that you have, being really clear of that. So maybe it's family, maybe it's spirituality, maybe it's adventure, for example. And then writing out a list of things that you want to achieve in those areas. And then you come up with the photos, whether you do it digitally or a physical one, and put them together in a beautiful collage. I actually have a blog and I have a blog post. If you're interested, I can send it to you. Maybe we can link it in the show notes, that walks them through the process of creating one.
Okay, so I will get it from you most probably. Not
Yeah.
most probably, I will. That's the thing. Okay, so our today's time is up. Okay, so our today's guest was Cassandra Rosa, and she is a podcast host, intuitive. Okay, so I honestly miss up the last part for some
It's
reason.
okay.
However, our today's guest was Cassandra Rosa. She's an intuitive life coach and healer, and she helps millennials to gain clarity of path and purpose. And that's about it. She's also a podcaster and award-winning author. So her book, the name of her book is Now What? Create the clarity of achieving your dreams.
Hmm.
And the name of our podcast is Clarity Conversation with Cassandra Rosa. That's about it for today. And so other than that, so where can our listeners find you online?
Instagram is Cassandra Rosa A. That's my handle. You can check out my website to learn about my coaching offers. That's cassandrarosa.com. And like you said, I have a podcast. It's called Clarity Conversations. It's available on all major podcasting platforms. And then my book's available on Amazon. It's called Now What? Create the Clarity to Achieve Your Dreams.
Okay, that's about it for today, and all the links will be in the show notes or the description. On if you're watching on YouTube, they'll be in the description and show notes for in terms of the website or the pop platform. That's it. That's it for today. And this was your host Mahmoud. Again, our guest was Cassandra Rosa. By saying that, signing off.
And that's the end of today's episode. I know taking action is quite a hard job to do, so I hope the advice and insights we got today will help you to take the leap of faith and pursue your dreams. You can share your story with us through the first link in the description box, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on the Apple Podcast. We will come back with another episode. Till then, keep healing, learning, and growing. Thank you.